everyone, welcome back to instructional video number 2. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I know that it might be a little restless and sad, I guess, being, doing social distancing during this time. I know I feel really restless, but let's stay connected virtually as much as we can. Please make sure you're taking care of yourself and that you're eating well and, self-care. But before we start on our lesson, just a couple of updates. Make sure that you have watched the first video and that you're working on the packet. If you do have questions, please comment below or message me directly. I'll try to help as much as I can. Again, it should be all on Google Classroom, so make sure you check that out as well. And that's it for me on terms of updates. Hopefully I'll get to see you on Tuesday in our live session. It either is going to be on YouTube live streaming or I might try Google Hangout. So also check Google Classroom to see what, platform we're going to be using. Now, make sure you grab your packets if you have the paper version. If not, go on Google Classroom. Google Classroom is going to be your best friend, I'm telling you guys. Go to Google Classroom and check on the document online. I did make a new version and included it into the post because I added Spanish translations and also had to make some revisions on the exit ticket. So if you have the old version, why don't you check out the new version as well? All right, let's begin. I'm sharing my screen. All right, let's us begin. All right, so this is our lesson for Monday, March 23rd. Our objective for today is to identify trends of scatter plots. So we're gonna really focus on identifying trends, positive, negative, or none. And this has to do with our previous lesson on correlation and causation. So just a reminder, when it comes to scatter plots, which are our graphs that look like this with all our data points, scatter plots only deal with correlation. And if you all remember from our previous video, correlation has the word relation in it. It means that it is the relationship between our independent and dependent variable. So we are now going to learn we're going to learn about the types of correlation a scatter plot can have. Just a quick reminder, if I'm writing in red, you do not have to copy it down, but if I'm writing in blue, you need to copy this down either on your paper packet or your online document. All right, so there are exactly 3 types of correlations that exist for scatter plots. You have your positive correlation, negative correlation, and no correlation. So only 3 things to remember. The way you identify whether it's positive, negative, or none is really simple. So look from it to left to right. This is very much like identifying positive, negative slopes. When you're looking left to right, if your graph is going up, that means it's going to be positive. If your graph is going down from left to right, it means it's going to be negative. Now, if there is no pattern at all, like if the data points are all over the place, it just means that there's no correlation if it's all over the place. So using more friendly language, when I say there's a positive correlation, I'm saying there's a positive relationship between X and Y. If I say there's a negative correlation, I'm saying that there's a negative relationship between X and Y. And you guys already know, if I say there's no correlation, it means there's no relationship between X and Y, okay? So everyone keep that in mind. We're gonna move on to the next page. So everyone please turn to page 2. That's where you're gonna see 2 graphs and I'm gonna ask 2 questions. The first question is this: what is the trend of this scatter plot? Now, when I'm talking about trend, I'm gonna pull out my blue pen, so make sure you guys are writing this down. When I'm looking at trend, this is where I'm asking, is it positive, negative, or none? So when I'm asking trend, I'm asking, is the trend positive, negative, or is there no trend? So once again, right, remember, we're looking at left to right. Is it going up, down, or is there No pattern at all. So if you look at our graph, we're starting from the left. If we follow the general trend of our scatter plot, we notice that it's going up. So that means that our trend, or let's see, let's use more mathematical language. So we're gonna say the trend of this scatter plot is positive. Okay, so we're saying the trend of this scatter plot, so trend is tendencia in Spanish, and we're saying that this trend of the scatter plot is positive. Okay, so when I'm asking for a trend, remember positive, negative, or none. So for example, if our graph was going in this direction, let's see if our graph was going in this direction, right? If it was going left to right, if it was going down, we know that our trend would be negative. And if our dots were all over the place, like this, that just means that our trend is non-existent. You would basically say this scatter plot has no trend. So let's look down here. So for trend, there's 3 possible answers. Now with a relationship, this is when we kind of go more into the real life example of scatter plots. Scatter plots aren't just random data points, it's actually about real life things, right? We know that scatter plots are dealing with independent and dependent variables. And so when I'm asking for the relationship for these 2 variables, let's give me a moment. Let me get the highlighter. If I'm talking about the relationship between these 2 variables, I'm saying that I want you to talk about these variables. What's the relationship this graph is showing? So if you look at the graph, we know immediately that it's about temperature and sales. It doesn't mention here, but this is talking about the sales of ice cream. You're probably wondering why I talk so much about ice cream in my math problems. It's because ice cream is amazing. But we're basically looking at temperature and sales. Our independent variable, I'm switching to my blue pen, is our x values, and our dependent is our y. So I know our independent variable is temperature, and my dependent variable is sale of ice cream. So when I'm asking about the relationship, you just want to look at this graph and tell me what this graph is telling you. So we know that it's a positive trend. It's the same exact graph if you noticed. We also notice that as temperature increases, sales also increase. So what do I mean by that? This is a great way to remember. If the trend is positive, it means that the independent variable, as it increases, the dependent variable will also increase. When the trend is negative, as independent variable increases, the dependent variable decreases. So if you notice, right, positive, they both increase. With negative, it means the opposite. As independent variable increases, the dependent variable decreases. So if you look at this, we know it's positive. So we can say actually in written form that the relationship of this scatter plot shows that as temperature increases, or as the day gets hotter, increases, the ice cream sales increase. So keywords here, right? When you're answering this question, what is the relationship? You can literally write it in this format. The relationship of the scatter plot shows that whatever the independent variable is, as that increases or decreases, the dependent variable also increases or decreases. In this case, because it's positive, it will both increase. For example, however, if it was negative, as it increases, it would decrease. So take a moment, let that sink into your head a little bit. We learned two things, right? We learned about trend, and the trend could be positive, negative, or there's no trend. And with relationship, I want you to talk about the two variables that the scatter plot is showing. And remember, positive, independent, and dependent variables both increase, whereas the negative, it would be the opposite. Okay. So let's move on to the next page. We're done with our mini lessons. We're going to do our practice problems. I did revise this packet so that if you're doing this online, you would write your answer down right here. But if you have the paper version, you could literally just circle your answer. So let's try this first problem. I'll walk through it with you. So I'm looking at this graph and I'm going to ask myself, we're looking at the trend. So is it going to be positive, negative, or is there no correlation? So if I start from the left, I'm going to follow the general trend. I notice that it goes down. So if it's down, I know that it's negative. Okay, so I could write that there, or I could write down my answer here. I want you to try now this second question. I want you to try this one. So in this moment, pause your video and write down your answer. Do you think this trend is positive, negative, or no correlation? So pause your video, and once you're done, click back, and then I'll show you whether you got the right answer or not. Okay, hopefully you guys pause the video and try this on your own. The correct answer is, drum roll, going to be no correlation. Because all the dots are all over the place, there's no pattern. It's not going up or down, so we know that it's going to be none or no correlation. That's it for my mini lesson today. I do want to mention a couple of things. Make sure you finish the practice problems number 3 to 12. I also have this 3 questions here. What you want to do is either circle your answer or highlight. When I'm talking about hamburger sales and temperature, I'm talking about this graph. When I'm talking about coffee sales and temperature, I'm talking about this graph. And with ice cream sales and temperature, I'm talking about this graph. So you want to see which one is positive, negative, or no correlation. Moving on to the next page. Okay, a lot of similar things. You should be able to do this on your own without my help at this point. This graph is talking about ice cream sales and temperature. I am basically asking for this question, I'm asking about the trend. And for this one, I'm talking about the relationship. And this one, this last question, I want you to think about the difference between correlation and causation. This is a review from our last video. And one last note for our exit ticket, I made a typo, so make sure if you have the old version that you do go back and fix this. I am talking about SAT scores and shoe size for the scatter plot, okay? So make sure that you change what you're talking about on your exit ticket if you are using the old paper version. But yeah, so things to do moving forward, make sure that 1, you finish this packet and turn it in. And turn it in. 2, see you on Tuesday in our live session. And share this video, share it on Facebook, subscribe, press the notification bell, whatever. Just make sure that you and your classmates are following along. And that wraps it up. Hopefully you guys understand now our objective, which is being able to identify scatter plot trends and being able to see whether it's a positive, negative, or no correlation. Hopefully math was impossibly easy, and I'll catch you guys next time.